He didn't ask about Wimbledon. That's how I knew it was different. We were already 10 minutes into the interview. Same questions as always, matches, finals, records. Then he leaned forward a little and said, Björn, who did you actually admire? I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know, because I never said it out loud. Where I grew up, you don't talk about admiration. You play, you win, you leave. So I sat there and faces started coming back, some from a long time ago. One from before I was even Bjorn Borg. One who changed the game without touching a ball. One who made it look effortless. One who broke something I thought would last forever. And one, people called him my enemy. They were wrong. These are the 5 players I admired. Number 5, Nadal. It was around 2005, Paris again. I wasn't playing anymore. I was just watching, like everyone else. Roland Garros always feels a little different when you've won there. You don't just see the match, you see the court, the patterns, the way points are built. So I turned on the television that day. Young player, left-handed, from Spain. I remember the shorts first, longer than usual. Then the way he ran, not elegant, not smooth, but fast, very fast. The first few games I thought, okay, good energy, strong legs. Then the rallies started getting longer and something changed. The ball didn't come back the way clay usually gives it back. It jumped high to the backhand. Again and again. I watched 1 point, maybe 20 shots. The opponent kept moving back 1 step, then another, until he was almost outside the baseline. That's when I leaned forward, because I had seen that before. Not exactly like this, but close. Control from the back, patience. But this was heavier, more physical. You could see it in the opponent's shoulders. After 10 minutes, they were already breathing differently. After 1 set, they looked tired. That doesn't usually happen in Paris. Not that early. I remember thinking, this is going to be a problem for a lot of players, not for one tournament, for many years. The next year he came back, same court, same intensity, no drop. That's when you start counting. 1 title is a moment, 2 is a confirmation, 3, now it becomes something else. By the time he reached my number, people started mentioning it to me. Interviews, journalists, they would say, do you think he can pass you? I didn't answer, because I already knew you don't dominate that court by accident. Not once, not twice. When he lifted the trophy again and again, there was no surprise left, only recognition. He wasn't chasing my record. He had already moved past it in a different way. More matches, more physical, less margin for error. I played my game there. He built something heavier. And when people ask me about Roland Garros now, they don't just say my name anymore. They say his too. And that feels right. Number 4, Billie Jean King. I didn't understand it at first. I was very young, early 70s, still trying to find my place on the tour, still learning how to win, how to travel, how to deal with pressure. Most days my world was simple. Practice, match, hotel, repeat. Then one day in a player's lounge, someone turned on the television. It wasn't the match I was planning to watch. It wasn't even part of the men's tour. It was a battle of the sexes. I remember people standing around, some laughing, some making jokes. I didn't say anything. I just watched. At that time, I didn't really think about the women's game. We were separate, different locker rooms, different schedules, different conversations. But That day felt louder than usual, not just the crowd. Everything around it, the media, the interviews, the tension before the match even started. And then she walked onto the court, calm, focused, like she had done this 100 times before. But you could tell this wasn't just another match. When it ended, the room changed. The jokes stopped. People didn't say much. They just stood there. Watching the replay, I remember going back to my room later that night, turning on the television again, not for the tennis, for the interviews. That's when I started to understand. She wasn't just playing, she was pushing something. Every answer she gave, it was direct, clear, no hesitation. That was unusual for me to see. Where I come from, you don't speak like that in public. You stay quiet, you let results speak. But she didn't wait for that. A few months later, I heard more about it on tour. Prize money, discussions, arguments behind the scenes, players talking in smaller groups, names coming up again and again, hers, more than anyone. I never had a long conversation with her back then, but I watched from a distance the way she moved in those situations, not on clay, not on grass, in rooms, in meetings. That's a different kind of pressure. No lines, no umpire, no clear end. And she handled it the same way she handled the match, step by step, point by point. Looking back now, I think that was the first time I realized tennis wasn't just about what happens between the lines. Some people change matches. Very few change the space around the match. She did that. And even if you didn't say it out loud back then, you noticed. Number 3, Roger Federer. The first time I saw him, it was on television, early 2000s. Everyone was already talking about him. The way he played, the way he moved. I watched a few matches. Good player, I thought. Very good. But television can be misleading. It makes things look slower, cleaner, easier than they really are. So I didn't rush to judge. I had seen many players come and go. Then years later, I stood a few meters away from him, practice court, Laver Cup. That's when it changed. You don't need a full match to understand a player. Sometimes 5 minutes is enough. He was just warming up, nothing special, no pressure, no crowd noise. And still, it felt different. The sound first, clean, short, no extra movement. The ball left his racket, and it was already in the right place. I watched his feet. That's always where I look. Footwork tells you everything, and his feet barely seemed to touch the ground. Small steps, always in position early, never late, never rushed. I remember one rally in practice, maybe 10 shots, nothing fast, just control, forehand, backhand, change of direction. And the other player, good player, was already a step behind, not because of power, because of timing. That's harder to deal with. Power you can read, timing, you feel it too late. I sat down on the bench after that. Didn't say much. You don't need to. When you've played the game long enough, you recognize certain things quickly. Later that day during the match, I watched from the side, closer than I had ever been before. You start to notice details. How early he prepares, how little energy he wastes, how he makes difficult shots look like routine. That's the dangerous part, because the opponent feels it. They start to think they are doing something wrong, even when they're not. I've seen that feeling before. Different style, different era, but the effect is the same. Control, not loud, not aggressive in appearance, but always there. After that week, people asked me what I thought about him. I didn't give a long answer. I just said, he makes the game look easier than it is. And if you understand tennis, you know how rare that is. Number 2, Rod Laver. I was a kid. Stockholm, small television, black and white. You didn't have many options back then. If tennis was on, you watched. That's how I first saw Rod Laver. I didn't understand everything, not the tactics, not the history, but I remember the way he moved, left-handed, smooth, nothing rushed. The points didn't feel heavy, like they sometimes did on clay. They felt complete. That's the only way I can describe it. Complete. After that, I started paying more attention. Whenever his name came up in the paper, I would read it. Sometimes more than once. 4 Grand Slams in 1 year. Then again, as a kid, you don't question numbers like that. You just accept them. And then you go outside and try to copy what you saw. I did that a lot. Backhand first. 2 hands felt more stable for me. But I still tried to understand his rhythm, how early he prepared, how calm he looked, even when the point got complicated. I didn't think I want to be better than him. That comes later. At that time, it was simpler. I want to play like that. Years passed. Things changed. You grow up. You start winning matches, traveling, different countries, different surfaces. And one day, you're no longer the kid watching television. You're in the same space. I remember seeing him in person for the first time, not on a screen, not in a newspaper. Standing there, just normal, talking to people, laughing, no noise around him, no spotlight. That was strange to me, because in my head he was something bigger, almost untouchable. But in that moment, he wasn't. And that's when it shifts. You stop seeing only the legend. You start seeing the details, the way he listens, the way he answers questions. No rush, no need to prove anything. That part stays with you, more than the matches, more than the titles. Because when you start building your own career, you realize something. You can copy a stroke, you can copy movement, but that kind of calm, you have to grow into it. And for me, that started there, in front of a small television, watching him play. Number 1, John McEnroe. You want the truth? He was the one I didn't expect to admire. At the beginning, I didn't even like playing against him. Too much noise, too many reactions, too many words. I was the opposite. I kept everything inside. Then came Wimbledon, 1980, Centrecourt. I remember the light that day, not too bright, a little heavy in the air. We started the match, and very quickly I knew this would not be simple. He wasn't just playing shots. He was reacting to everything. Every call, every bounce, every point. It changes the rhythm. You don't get silence between points. You don't get space. And then came the tiebreak. Everyone talks about it. 18, 16. But when you're inside it, you don't count like that. You just feel the points getting longer, the tension staying, not breaking. He kept coming again and again. Different shots, different angles, never the same twice. At some point, you stop thinking about winning the tiebreak. You just try to stay there, point after point. When it ended, I didn't react much. I never did. But I remember walking to the chair, sitting down, looking at the grass, trying to slow my breathing because something had changed. Not the score, the feeling. After the match in the locker room, it was quiet, very quiet. That's something people don't see. All the noise on court disappears. He walked in, still a little angry, still carrying the match with him. I looked at him, he looked at me. No big speech, no moment, just a nod. That was enough. Years later, people kept asking me about him, about the rivalry, about the differences. Fire and ice, they like to say. Maybe, but that's not how it felt when you were there. It felt very clear. He showed everything. I showed nothing. But somehow we understood the same pressure, the same loneliness. I remember once after I had stepped away from the game, he called. We didn't talk long. We didn't need to. He just said he missed it. The matches, the feeling. And I knew exactly what he meant. That's rare. To have someone on the other side of the net understand something you never say out loud. People can call him whatever they want. Difficult, emotional, unpredictable. For me, he was the one who saw the game the same way I did, just from the other side.